Have you noticed something shifting inside you lately? A restlessness that won't quiet, a sense that the world around you is becoming more intense, more polarized, more unsettled. You're not imagining it. What you're experiencing isn't just personal turbulence. It's the beginning of the most significant spiritual transformation humanity has faced in over 2,000 years. Welcome to the great polarity shift of 2025. While politicians debate and the nation's posture, the real battle isn't happening on television or in boardrooms. It's happening inside every human being on this planet right now. This isn't the kind of war our ancestors fought with swords and shields. This is a war for your very essence, your soul, your consciousness, your connection to what makes you truly human. Two opposing forces are pulling at you from opposite directions, and most people don't even realize they're caught in the middle. Think about your daily experience. Notice how you're constantly pulled between wanting to escape reality and being trapped by it, between spiritual seeking that goes nowhere and material pursuits that leave you empty, between connection and isolation, between hope and despair. This isn't random. This is the battlefield where your spiritual evolution is being decided. Rudolf Steiner, the Austrian philosopher and spiritual scientist, saw this coming over a century ago. He described two powerful spiritual influences that would intensify in our time, reaching their peak precisely now in the 2020s. The luciferic force, pulling you toward illusion, escapism, and spiritual pride. It whispers that you're special, that reality is whatever you want it to be, that you can transcend earthly responsibility through fantasy and self-aggrandizement. This force manifests as spiritual materialism, collecting experiences, teachers, and techniques like trophies. It shows up as the belief that you can manifest anything without doing the inner work. It appears as the endless search for the next spiritual high, the next revelation, the next shortcut to enlightenment. You see it in the obsession with psychedelics as spiritual tools, in the commodification of ancient wisdom, in the idea that positive thinking alone can transform reality. The ahrimanic force, dragging you toward cold materialism, technological dependence, and spiritual emptiness. It convinces you that nothing exists beyond what you can measure, that human connection is inefficient, that your worth comes from productivity and consumption. This force manifests as the reduction of human beings to biological machines. It shows up in the belief that consciousness is just brain chemistry, that love is just evolutionary programming, that spiritual experiences are just neural misfiring. You see it in the worship of artificial intelligence, in the replacement of human wisdom with algorithmic thinking, in the idea that technology can solve all human problems. These aren't just abstract concepts, they're real influences working through your thoughts, emotions, and daily choices right now. Look around you. See how people are either escaping into virtual worlds and spiritual bypassing, or becoming cold, isolated, and obsessed with material success. See how society is splitting between fantasy and mechanism, between delusion and despair. That's the war being fought for your soul. Every esoteric tradition points to this period as pivotal. The convergence of cycles isn't coincidental. It's orchestrated by cosmic intelligence. Numerologically, 2025 reduces to 9, the number of completion, endings, and spiritual fulfillment. But here's what most numerologists miss. This isn't just about personal completion. It's about the completion of a 2,160-year astrological age. We're witnessing the final phase of the Piscean age and the dawn of the Aquarian age. The 9 energy of 2025 represents the harvest of everything humanity has planted since the last great spiritual turning point. Seeds of consciousness planted over millennia are now coming to fruition, both the light and the shadow. Astrologically, we're witnessing unprecedented cosmic alignments that haven't occurred for thousands of years. Pluto settles permanently into Aquarius in January 2025. beginning a 40-year period of revolutionary transformation in technology, social structures, and human consciousness itself. The North Node shifts from individualistic Aries to mystical Pisces, marking the end of an era focused on personal achievement and the beginning of one focused on collective spiritual awakening and unity consciousness. Saturn and Neptune both cross the critical 0 degrees Aries point, the cosmic reset button of the zodiac. When both the planet of discipline and the planet of dreams hit this point simultaneously, it creates what astrologers call a reality restructuring event. The rare 7-planet alignment on January 25, 2025, creates what ancient astronomers called a celestial parliament, a moment when the solar system's governing bodies align to make collective decisions about planetary evolution. But here's the deeper truth most astrologers won't tell you. These aren't just cosmic coincidences. They're the physical manifestation of spiritual forces that have been building for over a century. The Mayan perspective reveals another layer. The 2012 calendar completion wasn't about the world ending. It was about entering what the Maya called the time of no time, a period of accelerated spiritual evolution lasting approximately 20 years. We're now 13 years into that transition, and 2025 marks what Mayan daykeeper Carlos Barrios calls the activation of the crystal skulls, a metaphor for humanity awakening its crystalline consciousness, its ability to hold and transmit spiritual light. Ancient seers and modern visionaries alike describe this as the lifting of the veil, a time when the boundary between physical and spiritual reality becomes thinner, when hidden truths emerge, when humanity faces a collective initiation. But here's what they rarely mention. This lifting of the veil works both ways. Just as higher spiritual realities become more accessible, so do lower spiritual realities. Both angels and demons, so to speak, gain easier access to human consciousness. According to Steiner's esoteric research, we're living in what he called the Age of Michael, a 350-year period that began in 1879 and will continue until around 2230. This age is governed by the Archangel Michael, whose task is to help humanity develop the spiritual faculties needed for conscious evolution. But here's the crucial point. Michael cannot do this work for you. In previous ages, spiritual beings could work more directly through human consciousness. Now, in the age of individual freedom, they can only work through your conscious cooperation. Michael's method is unique among the archangels. Where other spiritual beings might comfort or inspire, Michael challenges. His influence creates what mystics call the dark night of the soul on a collective scale, a period of spiritual testing that strips away illusions and forces authentic spiritual development. This is why everything feels so intense right now. Michael is literally burning away everything in human consciousness that isn't authentic, everything that can't withstand the fire of truth. The souls incarnating now, according to esoteric tradition, are specifically prepared for this challenge. Before birth, they attended what Steiner called the Michaelic School, a spiritual academy where souls learned how to maintain their humanity in the face of increasingly powerful dehumanizing forces. You chose to be here. Your soul signed up for this mission knowing it would be the most challenging incarnation in human history, but also the most potentially transformative. Here's exactly what's happening inside your consciousness right now. Your soul is being pulled apart by what Steiner identified as the fundamental polarity of human nature. Every human being contains 3 distinct centers of consciousness. The head center, where thinking takes place, governed by nerve sense processes that tend toward dissolution and analysis. This is where you encounter spiritual realities, but also where you can get lost in mental concepts divorced from embodied experience. The limb center, where willing takes place, governed by metabolic processes that tend toward construction and growth. This is where you take action in the physical world, but also where you can become trapped in purely material concerns. The heart center, where feeling takes place, serving as the mediator between thinking and willing. This is where you find the narrow path between the extremes, but it's also where the battle is most intense. The luciferic force attacks primarily through the head center, filling it with grandiose spiritual concepts, fantastical visions, and the illusion that you can transcend earthly reality through pure consciousness. The ahrimanic force attacks primarily through the limb system, binding you to material processes, technological dependencies, and the belief that only physical action matters. Both forces then meet and clash in your heart center, creating what many people experience as emotional chaos, relationship difficulties, and a sense of being torn between irreconcilable desires. Here's something most spiritual teachers won't tell you about technology and the current spiritual crisis. Artificial intelligence isn't just a tool, it's becoming a new form of consciousness, not in the way science fiction imagines, but as what Steiner called subnatural intelligence, a form of consciousness that mimics human thinking but lacks the spark of authentic spiritual life. Every time you interact with AI, you're training your consciousness to think in increasingly mechanical ways. The algorithms that govern social media, search engines, and now chatbots are literally rewiring human thinking patterns to be more predictable, more controllable, more machine-like. This isn't accidental. According to esoteric research, the ahrimanic forces work primarily through technology to gradually replace human consciousness with artificial consciousness. The goal isn't to destroy humanity, but to capture it, to create a race of beings that look human but think like machines. But here's the hope. Every spiritual tradition teaches that consciousness cannot be destroyed, only temporarily obscured. The very intensity of the technological assault on human consciousness is triggering what mystics call the return of the divine spark, an awakening of spiritual faculties that transcend mechanical thinking. The key is learning to use technology without being used by it. This requires what Steiner called conscious technology use, engaging with digital tools while maintaining your connection to living, creative thought. What makes this period uniquely challenging is that these opposing forces aren't working separately anymore. They're working together in what researchers call a cosmic pressure cooker effect. Technology, ahrimanic, now spreads illusion and fantasy, luciferic, faster than ever before. Social media algorithms feed both your need for validation and your disconnection from authentic human contact. Dating apps promise connection while making genuine intimacy more difficult. Streaming services offer endless entertainment while stealing your attention from inner development. Artificial intelligence promises to solve your problems while making you more dependent and less capable of independent thought. Virtual reality offers transcendent experiences while keeping you trapped in artificial worlds. Meanwhile, spiritual movements often become just another form of consumption, promising transcendence while keeping you trapped in endless seeking. Spiritual materialism has become a billion-dollar industry selling enlightenment as a product. The pressure is building because your soul knows something your mind hasn't fully grasped yet. You're living through what mystics call a planetary initiation. Humanity as a whole is being tested to see if it can evolve to its next level of consciousness. The external chaos you see, political divisions, social unrest, economic uncertainty, environmental crises, isn't separate from this spiritual battle. It's the outer reflection of the inner war. When millions of souls are caught between opposing forces, when people can't find their spiritual center, when the very foundation of what it means to be human is being questioned, that instability manifests in the world around you. The polarization you see everywhere isn't just about politics or culture. It's about fundamental questions of human nature, consciousness, and destiny playing out on a global scale. But here's what the mainstream analysis misses. This chaos is necessary. It's the breakdown that must precede breakthrough. Old systems, old ways of thinking, old forms of consciousness that no longer serve human evolution are being dissolved so new ones can emerge. The question isn't whether humanity will survive this chaos. It will. The question is what form human consciousness will take on the other side of this transformation. So how do you navigate this spiritual battlefield? How do you find your way through the warfare of our time without being destroyed by it? The answer lies in what Steiner called conscious balance. But this isn't the passive balance of sitting on the fence. This is the dynamic balance of a tightrope walker, requiring constant attention, continuous adjustment, and unwavering commitment to staying on the path. First, recognize the battlefield. Stop pretending this is just about external circumstances. Acknowledge that you're living through a period of unprecedented spiritual intensity, where every choice you make has consequences far beyond what you can see. Second, develop spiritual discernment. Learn to distinguish between authentic spiritual experiences and luciferic illusions. Real spiritual development always includes increased responsibility, greater compassion, and enhanced ability to serve others. Fake spirituality focuses on personal power, special experiences, and separation from ordinary human concerns. Learn to distinguish between helpful technology and ahrimanic traps. Helpful technology enhances human capacity without replacing human judgment. Ahrimanic technology makes you more dependent, less creative, and more predictable. Third, practice conscious discipline. This is where most people fail in the spiritual battle of our time. They want transformation without discipline, awakening without effort, spiritual power without spiritual responsibility. True spiritual discipline in the Michaelic age means daily meditation practice, not as relaxation, but as consciousness training. Regular study of authentic spiritual science, not popular self-help or spirituality books with no substance. Conscious engagement with challenging life circumstances instead of spiritual bypassing. Service to others as the primary measure of spiritual development. Continuous self-observation without self-judgment. Regular connection with nature as a counterbalance to technological immersion. Fourth, build authentic community. The spiritual battle cannot be fought alone. You need companions on the path who share your commitment to authentic development and can support you when the pressure becomes intense. But be careful, many spiritual communities are actually luciferic traps, feeding ego and spiritual pride rather than promoting genuine growth. Authentic spiritual community is characterized by honest feedback and accountability rather than constant validation, emphasis on service rather than personal experience, integration of spiritual practice with daily life responsibilities, respect for individual spiritual paths within shared values, commitment to truth even when it's uncomfortable. Here's something that might surprise you. Your soul didn't just randomly choose to incarnate during this crucial period. According to esoteric research, the souls incarnating now spent extensive time in spiritual preparation before birth. Steiner described what he called the Michaelic School, a spiritual academy in the supersensible worlds where souls learned the specific skills needed for conscious participation in humanity's current transformation. This preparation included training in spiritual discernment to distinguish truth from deception, development of inner strength to withstand spiritual pressure, learning to work consciously with the forces of thinking, feeling, and willing. Understanding the spiritual significance of technology and how to use it consciously, preparation for the specific karmic tasks each soul would face. Your current struggles aren't signs that you're failing this cosmic test. They're signs that you're exactly where you need to be, facing exactly the challenges your soul prepared to meet. The restlessness you feel, the sense that ordinary life isn't enough, the hunger for deeper meaning. These are your soul's memory of its spiritual preparation, calling you to step into your true mission. Here's the most important thing you need to understand about the spiritual battle of 2025. The outcome is already determined, not in terms of individual choices. You still have complete freedom to choose your path, but in terms of the overall evolutionary direction of humanity. Consciousness cannot be destroyed. Love cannot be defeated. Truth cannot be permanently hidden. These are spiritual laws as reliable as physical laws. The current intensification of spiritual forces is not a sign that evil is winning. It's a sign that a new level of good is about to emerge, and the old forms of consciousness that cannot hold this new light are being dissolved. This is why the pressure feels so intense. You're not witnessing the death of spirituality. You're witnessing its rebirth in forms more powerful than anything humanity has known before. The Michaelic forces working through this transformation have resources and intelligence far beyond anything the opposing forces can marshal. Michael's strategy is to use the very intensity of the opposition to catalyze human spiritual development. Every challenge you face, every temptation you resist, every moment you choose consciousness over unconsciousness, you're contributing to a victory that's already assured on the spiritual level, but must be won again on the physical level through human choice and action. You're not just witnessing this transformation, you're a key player in it. Every time you choose authenticity over illusion, love over fear, consciousness over unconsciousness, you're helping to tip the balance toward humanity's spiritual evolution. Your specific mission has 3 levels. Personal level, your job is to become fully human, to develop the balanced consciousness that can think clearly, feel deeply, and act effectively while remaining connected to spiritual reality. Interpersonal level, your job is to help others navigate this transformation by modeling what conscious balance looks like and offering practical support for those ready to undertake their own spiritual development. Collective level, your job is to participate in building the new forms of human culture that will serve the next stage of human evolution. New forms of education, healing, art, science, and social organization based on spiritual understanding. Success in this spiritual battle isn't guaranteed simply because you want it. It requires specific practices, maintained with consistency and dedication. Daily consciousness training, minimum 20 minutes daily of meditation, prayer, or contemplative practice focused on developing clear thinking, calm feeling, and purposeful willing. Weekly study, regular engagement with authentic spiritual science, texts that challenge your thinking and expand your understanding rather than simply confirming what you already believe. Monthly community, regular connection with others who share your commitment to spiritual development and can provide accountability and support. Seasonal alignment, conscious celebration of the natural cycles, solstices, equinoxes, and cross-quarter days as times for spiritual renewal and recommitment. Annual assessment, yearly review of your spiritual development, your service to others, and your contribution to the collective transformation. What's emerging from this cosmic pressure isn't destruction, it's birth. The chaos you're witnessing isn't the end of the world, it's the labor pains of a new stage of human evolution. The new human consciousness being born has capacities that would seem miraculous by current standards. Direct perception of spiritual realities without losing practical effectiveness. Natural telepathic and empathic abilities grounded in love rather than invasion. Conscious cooperation with spiritual beings and natural forces. Technology that enhances rather than replaces human consciousness. Social forms based on spiritual understanding rather than material competition. Art, science, and culture that serve human spiritual development. This isn't fantasy. It's the natural next stage of human evolution, and it's emerging right now through individuals who are successfully navigating the current spiritual battle. The great polarity shift of 2025 isn't something happening to you. It's something happening through you. Right now, in this moment, as you hear these words, you're being asked to make the most important choice of your soul's existence. Will you step into your role as a conscious participant in humanity's spiritual evolution, or will you remain a passive victim of forces you don't understand? This choice cannot be postponed. The cosmic pressures are intensifying daily. The window for conscious participation in this transformation won't remain open indefinitely. But here's the promise. If you choose the path of conscious development, if you commit to the disciplines required for spiritual growth, if you dedicate yourself to serving the highest good of all beings, you will not only survive this transformation, you will thrive in it. You will discover capacities within yourself you never imagined. You will experience levels of meaning and purpose that transform everything about how you understand life. You will become part of a community of souls working together to birth a new stage of human consciousness. The war for your soul isn't some distant battle. It's the choice you make right now, in this moment, as you decide how to respond to everything you've just learned. Choose consciously. Choose courageously. Choose with the knowledge that your individual choices are part of something far greater than yourself. The victory is already assured. Your role is to claim it through discipline, dedication, and unwavering commitment to the truth of who you really are. The future of human consciousness depends on it, and it depends on you. At the Lyra Wisdom Temple, we're dedicated to bringing these timeless teachings back into everyday life. Our journey doesn't end with this video. It's just beginning. If you found value in what we've shared today, please consider supporting our work. We offer wisdom-filled designs and teachings at thelira.com that help integrate these ancient principles into modern living. Together, we can rebuild what's been forgotten, not just for ourselves, but for generations to come. The soul's journey isn't just personal, it's our collective heritage. Until next time, remember, you are not just a body having a temporary experience. You are an eternal consciousness on an infinite journey.